Let's hear what Ruben Amorim had to say in his very first post-match press conference.
It's hard to expect anything now. It's like it's not a surprise, but you have to see it in game. So that's why I was a little bit anxious, because you cannot understand what will happen in the game. I felt that they were trying, they were thinking too much during the game, and that is normal. We start very well, but then we should have more possession with the ball, kept more of the ball. And sometimes we had the ball in the defense, and the rest of the guys were too stuck because they were thinking where I should be. So this is the first point. When we make a new structure and you are so clear on that, they need time to have some fluidity in the game. So I felt that, but it's through trainings, and they did okay.
Jamie, I'll start with you. Did it look like the same issues with a different leader, or was there already signs of progression under Amorim?
Very good question. I think kind of yes, Flex, to be honest. I mean, I was looking at the performance and they started off very well, dream start. You know, Marcus scores. I think it's only his second goal this season. But then they fade. And what Ruben Amorim's saying there in your clip is very reasonable. They've only had 2 training sessions. And I get it's a new system, but what I don't quite understand generally about this group of players, with a couple of exceptions, is as top professionals at basically the country's biggest club, why can they not adapt? Why are they sort of in the game, as Ruben's saying there, wondering where they should be? I get it's a new system, but surely if you're being told to press, for example, I think the example he gave was Johnny Evans. You know, he should have gone and pressed. Well, as a defender, do you really need to be told when to press or not? You know, if the opposition player's got the ball and you're the nearest man, you go to him. It seems to me it's closing down, call it pressing if you like. So I'm a little bit concerned, really, about the whole thing. I know it is very early, of course it is, and I get that. But it's interesting, the goal they scored as well was a counter-attacking goal, and I think that is kind of how Ruben Amorim, with this system, or any free at the back, which is essentially a 5 at the back when you're defending, it is a counter-attacking system. So I'm very interested to see how that manifests itself, but also how it will go down with Manchester United fans who are kind of, I would say, maybe a little bit, not sick, but they've seen counter-attacking football, Ollie, Eric Ten Hag, Mourinho, and they want, you know, control possession on the front foot. Maybe that will come. I keep on saying it's only 2 training sessions, but it did seem to me the same old issues. And so related to that, apart from maybe Fernandes, Mainu, Martinez, you could say Rashford when he's consistent. I'm not too sure this group of players is good enough. And Ruben Amorim, as a smart cookie, will know that probably, but he can't say it.
Yeah, exactly. He has been complimentary of the players, but we know he's going to have high demands, don't we, Ange? And actually, you know, some of the post-match analysis was similar to what Jamie just said there, in terms of not a lot will change until the players change. Is it just a matter of fact that we have to wait for him to undo this squad to rebuild it again in his image, or do you think that there can be more positive performances than what we saw with what we've already got?
It's interesting because I know that like a lot of pundits have been speaking as well about the formation and will this formation even be standing still next year, and oh, you know, we've got to wait because they're going to get rid of players and it's going to be, you know, people insinuating that it's almost going to be a completely different team next year in a year's time. And the thing is, Amorim will die on the hill of this 3-4-3.
He said it.
Yeah. And, you know, it was interesting, like, one of the things that he said was, we must not forget about the new idea. That's why I was brought here. So he was brought here for a specific reason. So people saying, like, oh, you know, he's going to, maybe he will have to tweak it, we don't know. But he is going to do everything in his power to make sure that his idea and his system works. With the players, you know, he's been almost overly complimentary of them. If you were planning on getting rid of all of them, I don't know, maybe you would still be complimentary. Maybe it's...
In public?
Yeah, but he's been like overly like, these are like great players, I believe in them, you know, so long as they buy into my new idea. But he seems like he really wants to work with these players and try and get the best out of them. So people saying that everyone's going to be gone, you also can't get rid of everyone. No. In, you know, January, I don't expect much is going to be done. In one transfer window, you cannot clear out all of the dead wood. So he's doing the right thing in that he is invested in these players. He's going to try and bring the best out of them. But, you know, when you look at it on their day, you know, like Jamie touched on, there's some players in there that are players. One player for me, Andre Onana, like, take a bow.
He's turned it around, hasn't he?
That guy, for me, is in a debate. He's 100% one of the top 5 Premier League goalkeepers at the minute. But for me, could even be in a debate to be in the top 3.
Wow.
Because I think this guy, he's got the most clean sheets in the Premier League. I know you are the stat man. I found a stat for you that you might like.
Come on then.
So in 12 Premier League games so far this season, he's first in post-shot expected goals minus goals allowed. So that basically means most of the shots that you wouldn't expect him to save, he's saving. And for me, so I agree. I think there are names in that team that can challenge, but there are going to be names that need to drop out. But I don't think as many are going to drop out as people think, because you just simply can't do that much in a short space of time.
Ryan, you are the stat man, but also you looked at our shape a bit more closely. For you, were we just quite far off the end goal, or could you see this guarantee of an idea that Ruben Amorim told us in that infamous first interview in Clubhouse Media?
Yeah, do you know what? I could see it. I'll be honest with you. I wasn't shocked necessarily at what I saw. I've got to be completely honest, because the concerns we asked before the game ended up coming to fruition. Are they going to adapt to this system quick enough? I was more shocked we got a goal directly a result of the system. I think that shocked me more, that it was like, wow, this immediate payoff. In terms of the formation itself, so I've got a little breakdown for you. So we did a 3-4-3. What happened and what I saw develop throughout the game, one side was... It got lopsided. One side was a bit more stronger than the other side. The side I'm referring to here is Mazraoui as right centre-back. You've got Ahmad as the right wing-back. You've got Casemiro with all of his experience. And you've got Bruno Fernandes as well. Now, that side looked good. It's this side that the goal came from. And then you look to the other side of this 3-4-3 here. You've got Johnny Evans. God bless him. Love him. Would he be Amorim's first choice in this system? Probably not. Let's be honest. You had Dalot, who was struggling to adapt with that left wing back position. Garnacho, who, look, I don't need to tell you how much I adore Garnacho, but decision making, just a few things were off in that game. Again, he's adapting to this system as well. So that, in terms of the 3-4-3, we saw the shape, but it became a little bit lopsided. Now, what he wanted to achieve here, Amorim, is he wanted the wing backs to push up, the CDMs to get closer to the centre attacking midfielders, and for them to overwhelm the centre of the pitch, to be this 4, which would have been Garnacho, Bruno, Eriksen and Casemiro, to be this 4. He wants the back 3 to play in, break the lines and play into this to this 4, this cluster in the midfield. Now, there's going to be times where, even though they receive the ball, and this is Amorim's plan, it's going to be tight. You're not going to have a lot of time to breathe. You have to be press resistant. Now, Eriksen and Casemiro, at the stages of their career, they're the complete opposite. Yeah, they don't fit that profile, and this is on the ball. I'm saying, what Casemiro will beat Ugarte, I imagine, and Eriksen and Ugarte's is the 6. He's clattering. He moves it on quickly, sideways, forward, back, whatever.
Get about the pitch.
Exactly. Well. Whereas Kobbie Mainoo is press resistant, which is exactly what Amorim's looking for. And then you've got the wing backs who will either distract or receive the ball through the channel. So that's essentially what he wants. In terms of how he wanted to press. So what happened was, Eriksen and Casemiro, we've seen the breakdowns. You've referred to the breakdowns. So Casemiro looking over his shoulder to the touchline. Should I approach? Should I do this? Eriksen, should I? Because Amorim likes to be fluid. He likes to either be zonal or man marking. That's essentially, waits for that trigger, and that's exactly what he'll do. Now, Eriksen and Casemiro were very stop-start. They didn't know what to do. Whereas the front 3, Garnacho, Rashford, Bruno, they went and they pressed. But what happened there is there's a disconnect. There's a big gap in the middle. So we saw Ipswich actually do what we wanted to do. They clustered the midfield and they overwhelmed the midfield, and that's why we got overrun at points as well. So that's essentially what went wrong. The front 3 were pressing and there was a big gap in the middle. What he wants to do is he wants everybody to move forward. He wants, Onana, the sweeper keeper. He wants the front 3 to go all the way up. He wants Eriksen and Ugarte up by the halfway line. Ahmad and whoever it is, Diallo or whoever, to push up. Dalot, sorry, to push up. Garnacho, Bruno and Rashford all to go together. Now, that didn't happen. So essentially, that is where I think, in terms of Manchester United, on the ball and off the ball, we could see the ideas, but it just didn't quite execute. Now, funnily enough, just to move on quickly, Ipswich played this system. They played the 3-4-3 as well, and Jamie's mentioned it there, the way that they got us. It's essentially what we want to do. They overwhelmed the midfield. Hutchinson got some space, and bang, all of a sudden, it's 1-1.
They set a lot of traps down our left-hand side, where Dalot started the game actually really well. And then what happened was, they kept pressing in that area and forcing him to this clipped pass. Basically, when he's run out of options into the centre of the park, Eriksen's retreating back towards the ball with a man behind him, not physical enough, not strong enough to retain possession.
Yeah.
Casemiro, big gaps there. So they did, and this is where Kieran McKenna does deserve a lot of praise.
Absolutely.
And how well they've worked with the manager. But that is what we want to see. And I just think as the game goes on, I think we did see players out of their comfort zone, Jamie. And you spoke about Johnny Evans there, sort of saying, well, why does he not know? A couple of times, Johnny Evans had a nosebleed, he was so high up. He's probably thinking, in my whole career, I'm 36, I'm supposed to be sort of just helping the youngsters get used to it. All of a sudden, I'm at Portman Road. I'm in the opposite box, mate. I don't know what's going on. Casemiro, for 10 years plus, has gone, well, I just sit here and give the ball to Modric and Kroos. That's my job. I do not go over there. So there is this, even though they're seasoned pros, I think there's this sort of understanding, or this sort of being scared of going, boss, are you sure you want me to go there? And I see what you mean, Jamie. It's like your seasoned pros, you'd probably ask them to take to it a bit quicker. But it was interesting to see that in some moments it did work. We did turn the ball over quite a couple of times in the early exchanges. But then as the game went on, they did kind of revert back to type.